Okay, well, if you were waiting for part two, it looks like the O-ring wasn't the extent of the whole problem that I replaced last time. So it's the next weekend and I am going to have to remove the entire pump and rebuild it. I was hoping I didn't have to do that, but it looks like I am. So anyway, you'll get to see how pump is rebuilt, and so will I guess. But I think this tool here will make my life easier. So it's a 24-inch crowfoot. And the issue I was having last time is, and one of the main reasons why I didn't remove the entire pump was because once you remove the pump from the engine, you just don't have enough torque to remove, like you're holding it in one hand and you're using a wrench in the other to try and get the high pressure line off. So this is my solution. I think this is going to make it so much easier. So before I remove it from the engine, I'm going to get this guy and basically get an extension in there. And you can see, and I'll get it up top, get it on the high pressure line and hopefully break it loose, and then I can remove the rest of the pump, which is fairly straightforward now that I know how to do it, and get it out of there easily, and then I can work on rebuilding it. Okay, so I'll be back at you when I have the pump removed and let you know how this goes. My crowfoot extension worked. It's a little confusing when you're doing it because it's upside down and backwards. So if you have your wrench on loose, you're actually tightening it if you're doing it from the bottom, and if you have your wrench on tightening, you're actually loosening it when you're doing it from the bottom. So just keep that in mind because I did it. Okay, so I got the high pressure hose off. One issue I'm having is this is in the way, so I can't get to the O-ring that's down here. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to remove the throttle cable here. And hopefully that's going to give me what I need to get this guy out. And almost, let me put this back in so I don't lose it. Okay. Almost. Okay, there we go. So now I'm free. So, ooh, it's spewing out. Okay, so here's an O-ring that I'm going to have to replace when I put this all back together. And I'm just inspecting it. Everything else looks good here. Just want to make sure the line itself isn't leaking or something. Anyway, I'll probably clean that up and inspect it very good. Otherwise, I might need a new line because I do see there is some rust on the line there. And it may be compromised. I don't know. But anyway, we'll find out. So, next step is to rebuild the pump. Okay, you can turn it on then. Okay, so now that it's out, before I start taking this thing apart, I'm going to have to clean it up real good. So I've just got not a wire brush, but like a plastic brush, some brake cleaner. There may be some gasoline involved in order to get this clean, but I don't want to get any gunk inside of it. So I'm going to have to really scrub this and make sure I get all the engine grease and gunk off of it before I take it apart. So I'll get back to you as soon as it's all cleaned up and I'm ready to disassemble. Okay, so I have removed this one here, just so it's easier to work on. And just so you know, we need a T40 Torx. The star bit there, it's T40 if you're going to get that bolt out. Okay, so now I'm going to work on getting these 4 bolts out. So I think it's going to be difficult just to use a hand wrench because I'm not going to get the leverage. So I'm going to try with an impact here. Make sure it's going the right way. Okay, there's one. Two. 3. 4. Okay, and I'm going to just want to get rid of that dirt that fell out there a little bit. Okay, so now I should be able to separate the pump. Okay, and I think you want to be reasonably careful doing this. Okay, alright, so I got that out. That was pretty easy. So I think I'm not going to mess with this. Okay, so I don't want to mess with this part too much, so I'm not going to take this part apart, and I'm not sure if there's any seals in there, but I'm going to assume they are reasonably good. I think this is the culprit here. This is the main seal, and here's the replacement that I'm just going to replace it with. So I'm going to take this guy off, and that looks pretty much perfect. I'm just going to have to clean that up and put the new one on. Okay, so that's one seal I'm going to have to do. And then in here, I don't know if you can see, but there are at least 2 seals that I can see. So I'm going to replace this big one here and this one here. And then I think I'm going to call that good. The other thing I could possibly do, because it comes in the kit, is to put a new shaft seal on this side. But to do that, I would have to take the snap ring out, take the bearing out, and take the shaft out. And I don't think it's leaking from here. This is dry. I may regret this later, but this part was pretty dry, so I don't think this is leaking. And if I don't have to disassemble that, and I don't have to mess with the bearing and all that stuff that's in there, I won't do that. So I think I'm just going to replace the main seal, these 2 guys, and then over here, if I can light that a little bit better, I'm going to replace the O-ring on the high pressure hose, and hopefully that's going to solve my problem. Anyway, like last time, there may be a part 3 where I just say, you know, forget it and buy a whole new pump, or I'm hoping this line isn't the problem. I do see some corrosion on this side here, and I don't know how bad it is. It is definitely corroded, but hopefully it's not compromised the line. But I will find out in a day or so if I put all this back together and see it's leaking from the line. But anyway, so that's the strategy for right now. So I'm going to clean this up, and I'll get back to you when I put the new I have in the kit here, all the parts I need. I'm going to put these back in, replace this one, and put it all back together, and it seems to be pretty easy. Some of the other ones I've seen online, when you take this out, I've seen people where all the veins inside fall out, and that's a real disaster if that happens. But in this case, it looks like this is either a sealed unit or something that, you know, I really have to work at to get apart, and I'm not going to mess with it. So anyway, that's the strategy. I will get back with you when I get it all sort of put back together. Okay, so replace this seal here, which was easy. This one was a little bit difficult to get in. The original one, I don't know if it's just flattened with age or it's supposed to be slightly flattened, but there's a little ridge in there, and they're exactly the same size, but this one is rounded and this one's flat. This one goes in like just boom, and this one I had to kind of play with to get it inside the ridge. So once I sort of got it in there by putting this back on top, it kind of forced it into the ridge. So I think I'm okay. I think this will flatten over time, like this one probably did. So I've cleaned up the outside here. I've got the new seal on this side, and I cleaned all this up with brake cleaner as best I could, and hopefully I get a good seal on here as best I can, cleaning up all the gunk. So hopefully I'm going to have a good seal. I don't really want to put any sandpaper or anything like that on it and mess it up, but I did clean it up. So here's the put back together. So I didn't have to mess with this at all, which is good. So I'm just going to put this back on the shaft, and this just goes back in. Do I have it the right way here? Yep. So there's two splines here that line up here and here. I had a little bit of gunk on there. Huh. I had this in before. Oh, you know what I bet it is? This thing is messing it up. I bet that's the issue. Okay. Here's my gasket. That goes back on. This goes back in here. Okay, so now I'm ready to button it back up, I think. Let me just make sure that gasket is pretty square on there. Everything else inside is replaced. So we are just going to put our bolts back. And you don't want to cross thread these, so be careful. Okay, I think I'm going to just lightly tighten them. And I think I'm going to give them a couple ugga-duggas to get that gasket tight. And I'm going to check it with a wrench here, just so I'm confident that it is tight. Oh, going the wrong way now. Okay. 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 So I'm going to call that rebuilt at this point. So the only two pieces I didn't replace was this one here, which I don't think is a problem. I'm pretty sure, like I'm 99% sure that's not a problem. So I didn't want to mess with that. I left it. I just replaced the two inside like I showed, and then the main seal here. So if there's any leaks at this point, I'm thinking the culprit is probably the high pressure hose seal, which I'm going to replace next. Okay, so the one last thing I have to do here to reassemble this is put this piece back on. Okay, so in my last video I replaced this gasket. I'm going to put that back on. Okay, should actually just make sure that's nice and clean before I do. Okay, I'll make sure the gasket doesn't have any sand or anything on it. Okay, and make sure this is all clean inside here as much as I can. Okay, and then this guy goes back on here like this. So first thing first is the Torx. Let me do that first. Get that started in there. It is kind of awkward. Oh, here's one other tip is when I'm putting this back together, the bolt that goes through here, I have to put it on before I put the high pressure hose on, because otherwise you just can't get at it. Okay, so that's one last tip. Okay, I got it started. Okay, so that one's started. That means I can put this guy into place. This is so much easier than under the car. And again, be very careful not to strip this stuff. Okay, so I'm just going to tighten all those up now that they're all in, and I'll get back with you when I get it back in the car. Actually, you know, next step, I'm going to replace the O-ring on the high pressure hose, so I'll get back with you on that before I do that, okay? So the kit didn't come with a new gasket for the high pressure line. That's where my kit comes in here. Let's hope I have one. It looks like that is pretty much the same. So that's a 20 by 2.4. Let me go one size bigger, 21, just to make sure. Yeah, I think this one, if we look at it, is a little bit bigger. So I think the right one is this one. It looks to be about exactly the same size. Okay, so on the, it's a 20 by 2.4. If you're wondering which one it is, I'm going to put a new one of those on. It does look a little bit different in that it's kind of flat on the outside and this one's rounded. I'm kind of hesitant to replace it. It still seems like it, I mean, it's not as pliable as this one, but it still seems like it's good. So, I don't know. It could just be flattened because it's old. It's hard to tell. I think I'm going to try it with a new one. The rounded one, I think, will flatten itself out eventually, and it should be fine. Okay, otherwise I'll be back here doing this again. Okay, I think that's good. So I'm going to try and put that on. So I've got my, so the way I got it off here was just very carefully with this pick. I just kind of kept going around and pushing it like this. And it goes right in that groove there. And that's it. Okay, so I have all new gaskets everywhere. And I hope this one is going to be fine. Okay, that's it. I'll get back with you after I put it all back together and see what happens. Okay, hopefully you can see it there. I'll zoom out a little bit more. It looks to me to be dry. I started her up. Well, first I put more fluid in. I bled the fluid out and started her up. Went lock to lock a few times. No weird noises from this pump. Everything seems to be working good, and it looks to me, I don't know if I can light it, but it looks pretty dry. So anyway, tips, you know, the crowfoot for sure. is the biggest tip to get the line off the top. And the rest of it's pretty easy, other than the bolt on top of the power steering pump, which is, I needed a very, very small 10 millimeter wrench to get that off. Everything else went very smoothly. So I'll report back in a couple of days and make sure it's not leaking.